everybody, Austin here today, and I'm going to be bringing you a quick tutorial on how to make a pluck synth. It's going to be similar to like a DJ Snake, Major Lazer type thing. It'll work super well for pop music, EDM music, any kind of like tropical pop. So without further ado, let's take a listen to what you're going to be able to get at the end of this tutorial. This is 3 different synths layered up right now, and so take a listen. Cool. So there's actually not much going on with these. They're all going to kind of follow the same basic principle. Let's go ahead and open up this first one, and I'll go ahead and turn off all the effects, and then we'll kind of come across them one by one. Okay, so the first thing is I've used all the oscillators and the sub-oscillator in this first patch, but it is a super basic patch, so let's go ahead and start. We've got the sub-oscillator that is a square wave, and basically the key to all of these plucks is going to be how you set your envelope. So this envelope, we're going to want a really fast attack, and then we're going to want the decay and the sustain and the release to kind of fall at a curve. That's what's going to give us that really hard transient, that pluck sound. So let's take a listen just with this square sub oscillator and then the envelope set. Attack at 0.5 milliseconds, 715 milliseconds for the decay, negative 15.7 for the sustain, and then 342 for the release. Just set these to however you want it in your song. You know, certain things will have longer transients or less than others. Sometimes it'll be too little and you won't be able to hear it through everything else. So just kind of play around with this, but this is where the majority of the tone is going to come from. Cool. So you can hear that right now we've got a little bit of the pluck sound. It does not sound great, but it is the basis, and I promise you it will sound good at the end. So since we've got all that set, we've got that envelope set, let's go ahead and open up oscillator 1. I use Trilobite, but you can pretty much use any kind of oscillator or wavetable that you want. It's not going to really matter too much. Just kind of play around with these to fit your mix and your song. I set the unison up kind of high just because I do like a little bit of width with the plucks. I don't really want them straight up the middle. I kind of want them to build a surround around the listener. So go ahead and set that unison up and have the detune pretty close towards the middle. You don't want to really let it lose its pitch qualities, but that'll give it some width. So let's take a listen now with oscillator A and the sub oscillator. Cool. And then we're going to turn on oscillator B, and this is just like the basic, it looks almost like a saw, but it's got a little bit of modulation, I think, like right around the midsection. These are all just stock oscillators that come in Serum, so you can basically find these just right in these little folders right here. And I will go ahead and link all of the patches that I'm going to make in the description. However, I do advise you to actually go in and play with this. Just keep using the principles that I'm going to show you. You can use them in any sense. Serum, Solenth, Massive, Free Sense, it doesn't matter. It's all going to be the same. So now we've got this with all 3 oscillators. Cool, so we're starting to get a lot of that pluck sound. However, it's still kind of ringy. Sounds almost more like a chord synth sound. So this is what's really going to make this pluck shine. You're going to turn on your filter, and you're going to drag this envelope right here to the cutoff. And that's why I actually love Serum, is because you can drag all of these envelopes and oscillators instead of trying to route them through, you know, back patches and stuff in synths. So just go ahead and drag this to the cutoff, and we're going to set it to activate on oscillator A, oscillator B, and then the sub oscillator. And we're going to want this cutoff all the way up. And this is basically every time I hit the chord, this is going to hit the filter just like it's hitting all of these. So the filter is going to attack and then decay really slowly. So now let's take a listen. And that's what's going to give us that really defined pluck sound. And if we pull, you know, the cutoff towards the middle, I actually like it right there. That's kind of cool. That gives me like a real DJ Snake tropical house type vibe. So we're going to leave that right there. I give it just a little bit of a resonance boost just to kind of give it some definition as it's going through. So let's go into the effects. We're going to process it with a little bit of compression and a little bit of reverb. This compressor is going to give it just a little bit of bite. So set the threshold pretty high. Set the ratio pretty high too. I think it's at like 4:1. And then let the attack be just really, really slow and the release really fast, because we want this compressor not to really activate on the transients. We want the transients to kind of poke through. So let's take a listen with and without the compressor. So as you can see, it's just kind of giving us a nice little bit of bite that we'll really need to let these plucks poke through the mix. And then let's take this reverb. Cool. So I like that. So I'll go ahead and save this synth patch. You can go right up here. And let's say pluck 1 for a demo video. Cool. And so that's saved now. I'll put all these in the description box. Let's go ahead and open up pluck 2. Super similar, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. It's going to be the same thing with the envelope and the filters, doing most of the work. Just use a couple different oscillators. This is a really good example about how whatever wavetable or oscillator you pick is drastically going to change the sound. It's the same thing, reverb, filter. I didn't really need a compressor on this because it wasn't quite as hard as the last one. We just put a little bit of delay in just to kind of give it like a ping pong effect. And on this one, I've dragged envelope 2 to the wet position on oscillator A and oscillator B. That's just going to basically morph these little wavetables like this, which will give us like a nice little variance throughout the pluck. It's not necessary. It's just kind of like a nice little flavor. Also makes it a little bit harder for people to duplicate your sound directly. And then we changed the filter on this too. So it's basically the same patch, just with a little bit of tweak in the envelopes, changed the oscillators, and then we used a different filter. I think on the other one we used MG low 18, and on this one we're using low pass peak 12. So just kind of set these to however you want. Like I said, just take this principle where you change the envelope and make it really, really steep. You want that nice curve that's going to be like your transient right there. And just kind of apply it to whatever. So let's take a listen to this now. Cool. And then same thing with pluck 3. It's going to be the same exact thing. We're going to take this envelope. This is doing the majority of the work with the sub oscillator and oscillator A. We didn't use oscillator B on this one. We didn't really need it. The key part of this one is kind of where it shines is this wet position right here. We're taking it all the way over, and it's changing basically from almost like a square to a saw. And that's what's really giving us that character there, because check it out like this. And then check it out like this. So that always almost gives us a little another definition of the pluck, changing from that square to that saw. And then the same thing, we've got the MG low 18 filter on this again, cut off all the way up, just kind of fall in as we hit it. And then same thing, just attacked with the compressor, have a little bit of delay, reverb. And then I just used the stock EQ on Serum just because I wanted to show you guys you can do all of these patches straight within the synth. It was a little muddy, so I just kind of took a little bit of low end out. I think I took like 24 dB out of like 120, and then added 12 dB at like 2.5, 3K. But I'll go ahead and save all these patches and upload them for you. Basically, just take the principle of setting a really fast attack and then having the decay, sustain, and release fall very, very quickly, and you'll basically be able to get a pluck out of any kind of synth that you want. Doesn't matter, massive, Silence, Serum, free synths in your DAW. That cutoff is really going to help. This cutoff right here is going to help you. That's why I use Serum. It's a lot easier to route than a lot of the other synths. But just take these principles and apply them to anything. Go ahead and send me some of your examples, though, if you guys find this tutorial useful. You can find me on Facebook at www.facebook.com/AustinHoleMusic, and then go ahead and leave some comments in the comment box down here and tell me what you guys want to see next, because I'm all for making more tutorials. If you guys liked any of the sounds in here, download them in the description. Anyway, I hope this tutorial was useful for you guys. Much love, and I'll see you next time.